I am a revolver guy. I've been one ever since I shot my dad's Ruger Super Red Hawk well over a decade ago. I immediately loved everything about it, from its aesthetics to the mechanical robustness that you could just inherently feel in your hands while operating that revolver. My dad taught me how to shoot it and showed me how to soak up the recoil of a 454 Casull. Me being about 140 pounds at that time, my wrists would hurt shooting even with my best of form. The first time we shot it together, I brought a hockey puck as a target. I'm not a hockey person, but I knew these pucks were extremely durable. I wanted to see what a 454 Casull would do to a piece of sports equipment meant to be slapped around thousands of times with speeds averaging 100 miles an hour. I still have that puck. Ever since that primer all those years ago, I've collected a few revolvers myself. Let's compare two of them. Both were made for the same specific niche, but designed decades apart from one another. I'm talking about the Smith & Wesson Model 49 and the Kimber K6S. Small bit of history about the Model 49. The Model 49 came about in 1955. It was an attempt to make a 5-shot J-frame sized revolver that was capable of double action and single action while also being snag free. The historical literature states that police officers used this model as a backup pistol to whatever service sidearm they had. Civilians to this day claim that it's an excellent pocket revolver. I'm not a fan of even having keys in my pocket, so I'm not even going to touch that carry style today. Maybe in the future. Their solution in 1955 was to essentially retain a vestigial-esque hump that covered the hammer just enough, while allowing a user to still manually cock it for a cleaner single-action pull. I'm not a gun history buff. You can find better banks of information about this model elsewhere on YouTube. All I gotta say is that it does work. I can readily squeeze off rounds with its excellently staged double-action trigger pull, while also accessing the hammer for slower, more accurate single-action shots. And now a little bit of background about the K6S. The K6S was rolled out in 2016. The company Kimber prior to this was well known for their 1911s and bolt-action rifles. I'm still not entirely sure why Kimber decided to deviate and get into the market of revolvers, but thank God they did, because their first entry is one of the lightest 6-shot 357 revolvers on the market. This model from the ground up was designed around being concealed carried. Every single edge contoured and the hammer is internal. Spectacular. Both of these guns are small framed revolvers meant for concealed carry. What's differentiating them is 68 years of gun design and, more importantly, gun culture. I'm going to say something that's going to piss off a lot of boomers. The Model 49 is basically just a cheap special with some extra frame that covers the hammer. It's a soft half step towards just having an internal hammer. What's the point? I carried this thing for 3 months and put about 150 rounds through it. I also spent a lot of time drilling with my speed loaders, so I have a pretty good idea what this little gun is capable of and where it falls completely flat. Let's start. For one, the stock grips prevent the use of a speed loader. I just went ahead and made my own panels out of a spare portion of stag I had laying around. And just like your mom, I could take my full load and look good while doing it. And I don't care what your opinion is on speed strips. Speed loaders are faster, so that's what I personally choose to carry. Let's talk about one of the worst things about this gun, the trigger. The Model 49 has a narrow serrated trigger that is, for a lack of a better term, worthless. If you shoot this gun in any capacity, your fingers will bleed because its edges are so goddamn sharp. Keep in mind that I wasn't shooting plus P, just standard factory 38s. It looks like later models like the 638 and the 649 rectified this by foregoing a serrated trigger for a wider, rounded, polished trigger. How actually nice. Another huge issue I ran into was that on the Model 49, the cylinder release is literally designed to get in the way of ejecting spent casings. They used the same exact cylinder release they had on all of their other bigger framed revolvers at the time. Thankfully, it looks like Smith has also rectified this on their later reproductions of this model. Come on, what the fuck, Smith? You're telling me nobody tested this and addressed this issue back in the 50s? Let's get to the crux of this video, that hump. Does it make the 49 snag free? Well, yes it does. There's basically nothing to catch on while drawing this gun. Good job, Smith. That, however, doesn't spare this feature from being worthless. If you're concerned with the hammer getting caught while drawing, just buy our hammerless gun. In reality, you have to reposition your hand from a normal grip just to reliably cock that hammer. If your hands are sweaty or you're panicking, good luck trying to thumb it like a normal single action. I have bigger hands and it still requires that I shift my grip upwards just to access the hammer. In reality, having a shrouded hammer serves zero purpose. In the end, you should just be using double action anyway. It's a carry revolver. When I posted about these issues, all of the boomers went out of their way to be upset about me wanting to sell it. They insisted that I either ruin the trigger myself by sanding the edges of it, or that I buy a wider aftermarket trigger and pay a gunsmith to install it, while also paying for an internal action job. I'm not doing any of that shit. I already made my own grips for this thing. The requirement that I would need to do anything else to a firearm outside of changing out the grip panels to make it more suitable for my needs is asinine. When I shoot the Model 49, it is genuinely painful. Remember that 454 Casull? Well, not even that gun made my finger bleed like the 49 did. Now, while all of the boomers and hipsters are hitting that dislike button, I can say this. The Model 49 was suitable for its time. In fact, Smith has improved it greatly with their later re-releases. But let's not pretend that this is as good as this. Thankfully, the revolver market today has a lot more manufacturers throwing in their hat, and now we have a lot more to choose from. Some should probably rethink what exactly they're doing, though. Ew.